Hello everybody and welcome to my video, Getting Tidier. I hope you're all well and I hope you are having a lovely weekend. As I record this, it's Saturday. So as always, the first few clips of my video show what I'm going to be doing today. So more work in the kitchen. I decided to change the little pot to the top of my stairs, so I did that with my daughter. Spent some time tidying up the dining room table. More Lego sorting. We're determined to break the back of that. You'll see me sorting out my fire and bringing in wood and generally getting my house more organised and tidier. So thank you so much to those of you that have been watching my videos. I know there's quite a few. I feel unable to name specific people because lots of you have been watching my videos, running them all day, running them all night, watching long adverts. And I'm so pleased to say that we're currently on £206.33. I never believed that we'd get that amount. I really didn't. I thought, oh, wouldn't it be lovely if we could get £100 to give that charity? Wouldn't that be lovely? And somebody said to me, you're going to get 200. That's what you should be aiming for. And goodness me, I can't believe it. So as I record this, we're right at the very beginning of November, which means that YouTube haven't yet processed ad revenue for the 31st. They might not have processed it for the 30th either. So probably around the 5th of November, I'll know the exact amount that's been raised for October. So I've contacted the man, Graham, at the charity and asked for his account details. And I'll be able to transfer the amount of money to him once it's been confirmed, the exact amount. But I can't thank you enough. You've all really got behind this charity and really shown a great amount of support to me. So thank you so much. So at the top of my stairs, you just now saw me cleaning the ledge and picking up those little pots. They're little fruit pots that my daughter has eaten while either being in Italy or France. And then I washed them all out and we filled them with green sea glass, white sea glass, some little shells, some yellow shells that I really vividly remember collecting with her in France, but she can't remember. And then we put them in little pots and made them look pretty. And they've sat at the top of the stairs and we've liked them. However, I suggested the other day, wouldn't it be nice to get a new glass jar and do them like layered effect? And I thought, A, there's going to be less dust. B, people are actually going to be able to see what it actually is. C, did I say 2 C's? I'm not sure. C, we'll be able to see like the layers and everything. And it'll just look much nicer. And then my daughter was doing some homework, but I said to her, do you want to have a break and do this with me? Which she, of course, did. And we did it together. So we put the white sea glass in, then we put some shells. Oh, she got the sulphur, which was from a place, a little island off Sicily, which just smelt completely of sulphur. So most of the sulphur came from a place called Volcano, which is a boat ride from Sicily. And that would have been when my daughter was about 6 years old. But today she wouldn't smell the pieces of sulphur. She said, oh, Mummy, you do know that's a chemical. It's not good to smell that. So you can see how we put it in the pot. And I really feel pleased about this because now at the top of the stairs, it's much easier to dust as opposed to lift all the little pots up. We dropped a bit and I managed to put a pencil on and then we couldn't get the bit again. So that's what you watch us do with the pencil. And we both just really enjoy doing this. And I think it looks much nicer and neater and better, keeping all the bits that we want to keep, and just displays it in a nicer way. I was a bit disappointed. There was quite a lot of dust from the bottom of the sulphur pot, but that's just one of those things. And then all the little jars went in recycling. And then you'll see me later on taking the jar and putting it at the top of the stairs. So we got this jar from a place called Latham's at Potter Heigham. Now, as you know, I don't really buy much stuff anymore. Actually, I go around shops and I appreciate all the lovely things on the shelves. I don't want to buy things. I don't want to bring them into my home. But there were a few things that we needed, and I knew that Latham's at Potter High would have them. So I went and got some jars for my jam, and I went and got this big jar. I did think I'd be able to reuse one of the jars that I've got, like one of those big jars that I have that's full of soaps. But my daughter made the very good points that they're kind of mottled glass, whereas I needed clear glass so I could see the sea glass and the shells. And I don't know whether you spotted, but her favourite shell, she dropped into the middle. So you saw that clip where I put them at the top. Now, unfortunately, I'd got one of those kind of reed diffuser things. Then it's not really working now. It had become very dusty. But unfortunately, we had some people round and that got knocked over and the oil burned all of my woodwork. And then the person was obviously thought, oh my goodness, I've knocked it over. So they picked it up and then stood it on the woodwork. So you can see where it's burnt the woodwork as it's fallen and then burnt the woodwork because all the oil was at the bottom of the glass. So it's such a shame because it looks now so dirty because where the oil has burnt all the paintwork and then dust has settled on it. So now it looks really nasty. So at some point, me and my husband need to sand the paintwork down and redo it all. And then you can see I'm in the kitchen. So there's quite a few things on the side, which is from shopping. So please don't worry and think, she's gone back to how she was. This is all stuff that needs to be put away shopping from Saturday morning, and also some shopping on Friday. So you can see that there's not really that much on the right hand side. What I'm getting in the habit of doing is making sure that any washing up, I'm putting in soapy water, or I'm washing up straight away, or I'm putting over to the right hand side. So that seems to be working so far. So although I worked on Friday, I think because I finished a little bit earlier, usually I finish about 5:30 on a Friday, it's my long day, but I finished a bit early because it was Halloween. My husband and daughter had spent the afternoon sorting things out, finishing decorating, sorting my daughter's outfit, arranging some ghosts that was attached to a pulley system from the bathroom window to scare anybody that was coming to the house. She put all the treats on a plate, and you'll be pleased to know we decluttered some things. So there were some few bits and pieces, some little Halloween decorations which were like new, and some other bits and pieces that she didn't want anymore. They went on the plate. So that was nice. We went into Norwich to knock on some doors, and goodness me, wow, it was so kind, the effort that people had gone to. The decorations in the houses, but also, like my daughter got given 2 little packages where a lady had knitted and crocheted Halloween decorations and wrapped them up and put inside "Have a Happy Halloween" with her name and address. So lovely. Me and my husband both dressed up as well, which is quite funny. Not complicated outfits, just a mask. But my mask is completely black, but you can still see through it. But people look at you and that's a bit scary because you can't see my face. And my daughter dressed up as a cat. So we did that for a little while. Just my daughter still really enjoys that. And it was so busy. There were so many people out. And then we came home and we put all the house in darkness. And there was some music playing at the front. And I had candles on as I normally do in the front room. And then people knock on the door and I opened the door very, 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 very slowly. And so sometimes the children jump backwards. And then I opened the door, offered them, they say trick or treat. I offered them something from the plate. And then just as I offer something from the plate, my daughter let the ghost go down. And so for some, that sort of like landed on their head, which was quite funny. And I heard one little girl say, "This was the scary house." And she came up and she chose several sweets and a couple of other little treats. So everybody had a nice time. And so today, on Saturday, we've spent the day at home doing jobs around the house, doing the Lego, as you can see in the video, and my daughter just finishing off her last few bits and pieces of homework. So thank you very, very much for those of you that have recently added comments to my channel, because you have all helped increase the number of views and therefore raise more money for charity. So thank you for doing that. Thank you for also liking and sharing my videos. That also really, really helps. A few of you have actually gone on to other people's videos, so people that do kind of similar things to me, decluttering, sorting, cleaning, and have recommended my channel, which is really, really very, very kind of you. So thank you ever so much for that. So the first comment I wanted to go through was from Sandy. And Sandy says, the house looks terrific and you have done a great job on the cabinet in the kitchen. So glad the charity will get more than expected. You have done an awesome job for them. Oh, thanks, Sandy. Congratulations, I loved the video. So sorry to hear you now need to redo part of the area for the hot tub. Your husband did such a good job on that, and I feel bad he's going to have to take up some of the tiles and redo the levelling of the ground. I hope it works out for the guides and the hedgehog house. Thank you ever so much, Sandy. That's lovely. There is a real pain that he's going to have to redo it, but I know what we're both like. If we leave it, then we will regret it. So it's a little bit like the patio. Goodness me, tears were shed over the patio because I should think the corner nearest the house was probably done 4 times perhaps, but it's eventually been done perfectly. I think he's done a better job than if we'd paid someone to come in and do it. Watching till Jesus comes says, Emma, your home is looking so lovely. You can really see all the progress you are making. Thank you very, very much. Watching till Jesus comes. Faith says, another revisit to the kitchen for decluttering. Great job. Lisa Malone says, I'm so sorry to hear about the tiles. All of that hard work having to be redone. I'm sure that he will figure out a solution. He seems to be very resourceful. But that is awful to have to do that work again. Your kitchen is looking so nice and staying so tidy. Amazing how much space you have after you got rid of the expired food things. Yeah, I've got a shelf empty, Lisa. I'm really pleased about that because usually when I buy poppadoms, when we have Indian or curry, I have to put the poppadoms somewhere there's no space ever for them in the cupboard. But of course, now there is. So I did reply to Lisa and just said, I know it's such a shame. He had to redo the corner of the patio many times, but we don't give up. And I just told her that I went to Wymondham Abbey. Now, at the end of this video, if you're interested, you will see a clip of Wymondham Abbey. Wymondham is a lovely, lovely town in Norfolk. And when you visit Norfolk, and I know many of you are going to, but when you come and visit me, I'll take you to Wymondham because it's a lovely market town, very, very historical. And Wymondham Abbey is beautiful. Now, I've not been to Wymondham Abbey for quite a few years, but the day that I went, so this was Thursday, it was so bright and so airy, and how the light was shining in, and they've got all the stations of the cross. Really, really lovely. So I did pick up something for Lisa because Lisa won one of the Ladybird timers, and previously she asked for a prayer card, and so I picked her something up from Wymondham Abbey that I think she'll like. So I'll pop that in the post with the Ladybird timer. And many of you know things haven't been great for Lisa. Lisa's been very, very poorly. So she was quite unwell, sort of December, January sort of time, I think it was. She mentioned it a couple of times on the channel. And she had to give up her business, like her home sort of care business, which was such a shame. So now she's got quite a lot of spare time, but she's not got that much energy. So she enjoys watching my videos and a number of other YouTubers. And I only hope that you feel stronger and stronger and better, Lisa. I feel confident that you're going to feel stronger in yourself and that your health is going to improve. Kathleen Quinn says, your hard work is really paying off, Emma. Your house looks great. Oh, thanks, Kathleen. Brooke Howell says, I have never heard of a fireplace balloon before and I had to look it up. I do remember you talking about not having very much coal last year and not wanting to buy any because it was pricey. I've been having a look today because you know the coal that I told you I'd got left? Well, I've used half of that, so I've now got about 6 pieces left. That was the coal that I said about how it was wet and I was drying it out. Now, I hadn't had any posts from Brooke from a very long time. Brooke follows me on my Instagram account, which I don't use very often, Getting Tidier. But I messaged her on there to ask her if she was okay. And she's not been too good either. So I do hope you start feeling better, Brooke. Been having lots of headaches and not feeling well at all. So I hope you start to improve very, very soon. So you can see that I spend a lot of time on the Lego, and in front of me is my daughter and to the other side of me is my husband. We had Norwich City on television, which those of you that have any interest in football or family members that have any interest in football, Norwich are doing appallingly. So there was a little bit of a shouting at the television this afternoon because it's so frustrating that they've lost for like 5 times in a row. My daughter and husband did suggest that I do some building, but I explained that my strengths lie in finding pieces. My strengths do not lie in following manuals and building Lego structures. So we found loads of pieces, and we've got another few sets which are very, very close to being completed. So really, really pleased about that. So there'll be a couple more sets that I'll be able to put onto eBay to get rid of. Right, next comment that I wanted to go through is from Cammy. And Cammy says, Emma, that part where you left the sound on at the end when you were putting things away from your shed into a container on the ground was so relaxing. I love the natural sounds in videos where you can hear stuff being sorted out. Also, I don't know your email to send you my address for the timer. I must have fallen asleep or missed the part of whatever video it was where you gave instructions on how to send our addresses. So Cammy, I've replied to you and included my email address. So I've sorted out all the packages. I've nearly sorted out all the packages. I'm just having a little look at my list as I was then saying about this. So I have got very organised. So we've got the package has been organised to go to Dulcie Rose. So your Ladybird timer is going to be leaving Norfolk on Monday, along with a Norfolk card. So I do hope you like that. Lisa Malone, yours is being packaged up, but I now need to get a bigger envelope because the envelope doesn't fit the item that I got from Wymondham Abbey. And Nicole Marsden, yours is all packaged up and ready to go, with a Norfolk card as well. And also Barbara, yours has been packaged up, and also Miranda. The 3 people who have not packaged their Ladybird timers, and this is the last call. If I don't hear from you by the, let's just say the 5th of November. No, this video won't be going out on the 5th of November. Let's say by the 7th of November, then I'm going to go to the next people on my list. So Michelle Brown, you won. Wendy Holmes, you won. And Cammy Hell, you've already seen my email address, hopefully. But these Ladybird timers are going to be going all around the world. We've got Illinois, Pennsylvania, Surrey, Cheshire, and Ohio. So they will be on the way on Monday. That's when I'm going to go to the post office. Catherine Husserman says Thanksgiving is an American tradition to give thanks to everything nature has provided and grown during spring and summer, and in autumn after everything is harvested and brought in. It is also a big occasion to see and meet family. Sounds lovely. Alison Chamberlain says another thing, I went into HomeSense last weekend and they had several floor lamps similar to yours. I'd never seen one before seeing yours, only the standard lamps which are about 6 foot tall with a skinny base. Alison in Chichester. Now I wonder whether they've... see, what I really do need is I do need a new lamp cover because my lovely, lovely, lovely one with trees is damaged. I'd love to get one that's identical, but I don't think I'll be lucky enough. Tammy D 5863 says, have gone through my house once and decluttered, but got to looking round it, needed more, so I'm cleaning out again. Well done, Tammy. So you're peeling back the onion layers as well. Karen Howard said Thanksgiving in Canada is October, November in the USA. So why is that different times then? Because it's similar weather, isn't it? In Canada and America? Although I guess that's a bit of a silly thing to say because the weather varies so considerably. Harvest thanks for most people, both religious and secular for some people. Oh, that's interesting. And I did reply to say how lovely that sounded. And then Elizabeth Paul says Canada has had legislation recognising a Thanksgiving holiday since declaring it a national holiday in 1879. Well, that sounds like we're part of the Commonwealth. We also need to have a national holiday like Canada. That'd be good. It's a day of gratitude for a successful harvest. It's held the second Monday of October. The US has a lot more publicity for their holiday because of movies and other media that romanticize the holiday. If you research the history of the early settlers in America and what they subsequently did to the indigenous people who helped them survive the early years in America, you will find it to be very sad. They were killed in great numbers by diseases brought to America that they had no immunity to, as well as wars where they were killed in great numbers because of the differences in war implements. That aspect of American history is seldom mentioned or discussed. Oh dear. And Brooke replied to that and said there have been way too many things happen to Native Americans since the Pilgrims first landed here. The thing is, every country has some difficult history, doesn't it? And sad history. I mean, what I found incredibly interesting when I went to America was I wanted to find any history that I possibly could about the indigenous people. But sadly, there seems to be very, very little. But we went to a place which had been set up and kind of created by American Indians, and they talked about and they showed us different things they'd made and talked to us about some of the history and how they looked after the lands. And I never forget that when we went to Las Vegas, you've got all these the lights, the casinos, the shows, kind of everything that's not real. And then you've got the Grand Canyon and Red Rock Canyon. And near the Red Rock Canyon, you've got the handprints, which I forget what period. Is it Paleolithic period? I can't quite remember. But they're really, really old. And so we tracked down where they were. And I naively thought that loads of people would be interested. But we were the only ones there. No one was interested. Everyone flocks to Las Vegas to see all the lights. But not many people are interested in the history in the same way as perhaps I am. Barbara Palmore says, I like your teddy bears. We are going on a Christmas market cruise in December on the Rhine. Now, Barbara, I've got to tell you, when I was about 10, I did a project on the Rhine. I loved every minute of it, and I've always wanted to go to the Rhine. So I have been to Germany several times, but I've never been to the Rhine, and I would love to go. Now, in terms of the teddy bears, I think Barbara's specifically talking about the teddy bears that I have in my own home, as opposed to the teddy bear charity that I've talked about. And they're the Steiff teddy bears. Now, they're the bears that were first created, and the designers and the makers of the bears from the Steiff family, they sold the bears in America, and they called them Teddy after Teddy Roosevelt. And they were the first teddy bears that were ever created. So I hope you managed to get a nice one for your grandchild. I've got quite a few in my cabinet, and my daughter's got some as well. There's a little one with blue eyes that I got from the German Steiff Museum, and every time my daughter sees it, she says, I really like that bear you got. I wish I'd got that bear you'd got. And I come so close to saying, oh, you can have it, you can have it. But I haven't said that yet. I just bought him as a treat for myself, and he is really very, very cute. So you can see in the video, I'm sorting out my fire. It got quite cold in the house, so I decided that it was a good time. We've been doing some Lego. I thought, well, I'll now have a bit of a break, get all all the wood in for the rest of the day. So I get in one load, which is all ash wood, which goes in one container. And then I get another, my wicker basket is full of like wood that is good to start the fire, if you see what I mean. And then you'll also spot my coal bucket. You'd also see where my camera fell over. I thought, oh no, I used my husband's tripod, which I use far more than what he does. But I thought, oh no, I hope I've not damaged his tripod. But thankfully it was okay. So we've got loads and loads of wood, so I'm slowly getting through it. What I want to do is I want to get to a point where by the end of the winter, one whole shelf is clear, because what we do is we get our trees cut every 2 years. And one of the trees I have actually been thinking about whether we should take it down because it's got so big and it's quite close to the house. But we do love our trees. But they get very big very quickly. Ash wood is particularly good for burning. It burns slowly and gives quite a lot of heat. So ash trees were actually used a lot by the Anglo-Saxons. They wouldn't cut them down, they just cut them back, then season the wood and use it for the next year. So that means that because we haven't had the trees cut this year, I'm currently burning the year before. So I'm currently burning the wood that was cut down in 2023. So that means that any wood that we have cut spring, say early before the birds are nesting, 2026, we won't be able to use until 2028 really, or 2027. A year is okay. So we've not got any wood that we're seasoning from last year. So we'll get the trees cut right back to sort of a decent size. That'll give more light into the garden, which will be good, but also prepares us for our fire. Which, as I said, because it burns quite slowly, it's good to have a constant supply. But you can see in my wood shelter, I don't have much space for much more wood, do I? So in the video you can see there I'm getting in all my washing. That's now been out for about a week. I have got more washing to do, but I don't put any more out in today's video. To be honest, I wanted to have the patio a bit clearer for a while because I felt like it's been a Chinese laundry out there for quite some time. Cynthia Miller says, hi, Emma, good job on the kitchen cupboards and the hallway. The gifts that I ordered for Christmas have already arrived and are well hidden. Well done you, Cynthia. So in terms of Christmas prep, I wanted to let you know what I've been doing. I've got the app on my phone and I've added a list of all the people that I'm buying for. And I've also started buying a few things. So there's one family friend whose present is done. I've bought a couple of presents for my sister, present for my mum, a few little things, just little small presents, sort of like stocking presents for my nephews and godsons. So I'm just starting to get a few things. I'm going to start writing my Christmas cards in a couple of weeks because I leave that far too late and I end up having to put first class stamps on everything. So Cynthia, thank you for talking about this and helping me get organised. Now Cynthia's mentioning about Germany as well, because Cynthia says, yes, I'm of German heritage, about half English, my father's side, and half German, my mother's side. My early family all came over to America on boats as pilgrims. The earliest pilgrim settlers received a lot of help from the native Indians in growing crops, fishing and hunting. They were so thankful for all the bounty they set aside a special day of thanksgiving to God for their many blessings. It was a day of feasting and celebration and the Indians were invited. They probably did eat turkey, but also a lot of fish since they lived on the Atlantic Sea coast, and corn and dishes made from pumpkin. Wow. Do you know whereabouts in England and whereabouts in Germany? I think but when people... I often think that people are American, because America is such a massive, massive country, they sort of think, oh, well, their ancestors are from England. They don't necessarily know where in England. But to me, England is a big place. I know to you, England is a tiny place. And it's the same with Germany. I'd want to know like whether I'm from, my roots are from Bavaria or where the connection is. fascinating. So was any of the language passed on, Cynthia? Any of the German language, or was it just not continued? That I also find very interesting, how some people seem to continue the language and other people don't. Often seems that if it's the mother's side, the mother keeps the language going. I don't know whether it's because often the mums tend to spend more time with the children, generally speaking. I'm not sure. But even like nowadays, I've got friends who speak, I've got friends from other countries. I've got one friend whose mother was from Czech Republic, and so she's fluent in Czech, and her son is fluent in Czech. But then I know a man from Italy, and none of his children speak Italian. I guess it varies. Linda Thornton says you're doing fantastic, going great, blessings. Carrie says another brilliant video, but once again I didn't see any adverts. I do appreciate people telling me when they don't see adverts because the settings seem to keep changing. I have to go in and change the settings. I'm not quite sure what's going on with that. Alison Chamberlain says, hi Emma, keep up with the good work, but the herbs and spices will have lost their flavour for sure. I made a curry with 6-month expired spices and there was no flavour at all. And the flour, please get rid. I'm typing this early on in this video, so you might have already disposed of them. I'm really glad that Alison said to me, reinforced that I'd made the right decision with the very old herbs and spices. Because you know I don't like waste, so this sort of thing does bother me. But Alison said, no, you definitely need to get rid of them. I asked her how old is the oldest that I should really use, and she said, personally, I'd bin it if it's more than 3 months old. I know you hate waste, but you could ruin a meal by using it. Yeah, very good point. Thank you for that. So you can see here in the video, I'm back in the loft room sorting out clothes. So I put some clothes away. I'm getting some more washing ready to put in the washing machine. I wanted to do one load today and then get it out on the line as soon as I can. So I was checking my daughter's washing as well, picking a couple of items on the floor and just checking whether they were supposed to make it into the linen basket or whether they just slipped off. Obviously, of course, they wouldn't have been thrown on the floor. And then you'll see that I'm right towards the end of my video. So I do a little bit in the kitchen, putting the washing machine load on. Now, something that I've recently watched on a reel on YouTube was about the temperature you should wash your clothes at. So I always wash my colours on about 30. And I was really shocked with this man who I follow telling me that I should be washing my clothes at 60 degrees. And if you don't wash your coloured clothes at 60 degrees, you're not cleaning any of the bacteria out of them. And what he was saying is he often sees that people would put underwear in with towels, tea towels, t-shirts and everything else, which of course, that's what I do. I don't do a separate load for underwear and a separate load for all other clothes. So he says that if you're washing things on 30 or 40 or 50, you're not cleaning them properly. And he was saying about how disgusting it is. So I've now started putting all my colours on at 60 degrees. So I'm getting to be quite close to the end of my video now. So I wanted to tell you a little bit about some of the clips right at the very, very end. So Wymondham is a very historic town. Actually, when you look back at my family roots, one branch of my tree goes right back to the weaving community in Wymondham. So really, really interesting history. Now, Robert Kett, there's little bits to do with Robert Kett all over the town. So there's the big Kett oak tree on the outskirts of Wymondham. And this was where Robert Kett met his followers. That oak tree now is very, very old because Kett's rebellion was the most serious outbreak of civil unrest during the reign of Edward VI. So this is like 1549. So there were a number of revolts in the 1540s and Robert Kett led the uprising. the background of it is really interesting. If you love history, then I would encourage you to read up about it. But he led a large uprising of local people, of commoners, because he wasn't happy with how the rich landowners were treating the ordinary person. Now, in the words of my dad, because my dad wrote a song about Robert Kett, Robert Kett, he didn't want a war, but they hung him as a traitor for trying to help the poor. Of course, the uprising wasn't successful, as you may expect, and Robert and William Kett were seized and taken to London, where they were held at the Tower of London, which you can see on my other channel, my other video post that I just did the other day on my London visits. But on the 7th of December, 1549, Robert was executed in Norwich, and his body was hung at the top of the castle to provide a message to anybody rise up against the rich and the wealthy landowners. So you can see my little clips around Wymondham. So there's one which actually shows where Robert Kett lived. I hope you enjoyed Wymondham Abbey, which is just truly magnificent. Definitely recommend you visit there. And the little house with like the blue door, there was a whole section within their gate which was actually an archway which was apparently taken from one of Robert Kett's houses. So full of history. And there's a little pathway that I take you down, and right at the very bottom of the pathway that comes out directly opposite the abbey, so you can see it through the kind of the end of the archway and through the houses and the little gap there. So I hope you found my video interesting. Thank you very, very much for your ongoing support and kindness, and I look forward to seeing you all in the next video. Bye!